Hey, to state simply, data mining refers to the process of extracting useful and relevant insights from a large dataset. It involves analyzing and exploring data to identify patterns, trends, and relationships that can help organizations make informed decisions. There are various techniques used in data mining, each designed to extract specific type of information from data. In this video, we will discuss the major data mining techniques and how businesses use them to gain a competitive edge. Starting with number 1, classification. This is one of the most widely used techniques in data mining and machine learning, which involves the identification of patterns in data and labeling of data into predefined classes or categories. In simple terms, classification is the process of assigning a given data point to a category or class based on a set of features or attributes. Classification algorithms are used to build predictive models that can be used to classify new data based on their features. These algorithms use training data to learn patterns and relationships between features and the classes, and then apply learned patterns to classify new data. This technique is commonly used in fraud detection, customer segmentation, spam filtering, risk assessment, and sentiment analysis. For example, a bank can use classification to identify fraudulent transactions based on a set of predefined attributes such as transaction amount, location, and time. Next, number 2, clustering. Now, this is a technique in data mining that involves grouping similar data points together into clusters or groups. The aim is to identify patterns and similarities in the data without prior knowledge of the structure of the data or classification of data points. Clustering can be used in a wide range of applications, including market segmentation, image processing, and anomaly detection. There are various clustering algorithms available, but the most common ones include k-means, hierarchy clustering, and density-based clustering. The quality of clustering depends on several factors, including the choice of algorithm, the similarity measure used, and the number of clusters chosen. One common evaluation metric for clustering is Salute coefficient, which measures the quality of clustering based on how well separated the clusters are and how tightly the data points are grouped within each cluster. For example, a retailer can use clustering to group customers based on their purchasing behavior and demographic information to create targeted marketing campaigns. Next, number 3, regression. Now, this is a statistical technique used in data mining to establish a relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variables. The goal of regression analysis is to build a model that can be used to predict the value of the dependent variable based on the values of the independent variable. The dependent variable is also known as response variable, and independent variable are also known as predictor variables or features. In simple linear regression, there is only one independent variable and the relationship between the dependent and the independent variables is assumed to be linear. In multiple linear regressions, there are more than one independent variables and the relation between dependent and independent variables is assumed to be linear as well. But if we compare the two, there are two main uses of multiple regression analysis. The first is to determine the dependent variable based on multiple independent variables. For example, you may be interested in determining what crop yield will be based on temperature, rainfall, and other independent variables. The second is to determine how strong is the relationship between each variables. For example, you might be interested in knowing how a crop yield will change if rainfall increases or the temperature decreases. Further, there are other types of regression techniques as well, such as logistic regression, which is used when dependent variable is categorical, and nonlinear regression, which is used when relationship between dependent and independent variable is nonlinear. Fundamentally, regression analysis technique is commonly used in demand forecasting, price optimization, and trend analysis. Next, number 4, association rule mining. This data mining technique is used to identify patterns and associations among variables in a large data set. Here, the goal of association rule mining is to discover interesting and meaningful relationships between variables that can be used to make informed decisions. Association rule mining works by examining the frequency of co-occurrence of variables in a data set and then identifying the patterns or rules that occur most frequently. These rules consist of a set of antecedent or left-hand side variables and a set of consequent or right hand side variables. The antecedent variables are conditions or events that precede the consequent variables, and consequent variables are the events or outcomes that follow the antecedent variables. Association rule mining is typically used in market based analysis where the goal is to identify the patterns of co occurrence of products in customer transactions. For example, a retailer might use association rule mining to identify that customers who buy bread also tend to buy milk, and therefore place these products near each other in the store to encourage cross selling. Next, number 5, text mining. Now, this data mining technique involves analyzing and extracting useful information from unstructured textual data such as emails, social media posts, customer reviews, and news articles. The goal of text mining is to transform unstructured textual data into structured data that can be analyzed using data mining techniques. This technique is commonly used in sentiment analysis, topic modeling, and content classification. For example, a hotel chain can use text mining to analyze customer reviews and identify areas of improvement in their services. Next, number 6, time series analysis. It is a technique used for analyzing and forecasting data points collected over time. It involves analyzing data points that are measured at regular intervals of time to identify patterns, trends, and seasonality. The goal of time series analysis is to make predictions about future values of the time series by modeling the underlying pattern in the data. Time series can be either univariate, where only one variable is measured over time, or multivariate, where multiple variables are measured over time. Time series analysis can be applied to a wide range of problems such as predicting stock prices, forecasting weather patterns, and predicting demand for products. It has several advantages, including its ability to capture trends and seasonality in the data, its flexibility in modeling different types of time series, and its ability to provide forecasts and confidence intervals. For instance, a utility company can use time series analysis to predict energy demand based on historic data and weather patterns. Next, number 7, decision trees. Now, decision trees are a technique used to represent complex decision-making process in a visual format. Here, we analyze data by constructing a tree-like model of decisions and their possible consequences. A decision tree consists of nodes and edges, where nodes represent decisions or events and edges represent the possible outcome or consequences of those decisions. Decision trees can be used for classification or regression tasks. In classification tasks, the goal is to assign a label or class to a given input based on its features. In regression tasks, the goal is to predict a continuous target variable based on the input features. If seen broadly, decision trees have several advantages, including their simplicity, interpretability, and ability to handle both categorical and continuous variables. Decision trees can also handle missing values and outliers in the data, making them robust to noisy data. This technique is commonly used in risk assessment, customer segmentation, and product recommendation. For instance, a retailer can use decision trees to identify factors that influence customer purchasing decision and optimize their marketing strategies accordingly. Next, number 8, neural networks. This technique mimics the behavior of the human brain in processing information. A neural network consists of interconnected nodes or neurons that process information. These neurons are organized into layers, with each layer responsible for a specific aspect of the computation. The input layer receives the input data and the output layer produces the output of the network. The layers between input layers and output layers are called hidden layers and are responsible for complex computations that make neural networks so powerful. Neural networks can be trained using a process called backpropagation, which involves adjusting the weights and biases of the neurons to minimize the error between the predicted output and the actual output. This process involves iteratively updating the weights and biases based on the error of the network until the error is minimized. Neural networks have several advantages over other data mining techniques, including their ability to learn and generalize from complex data, their ability to handle noise and missing data, and ability to adapt to new and changing data. This technique is commonly used in image recognition, speech recognition, and natural language processing. For instance, a self-driving car can use neural networks to identify and respond to different traffic conditions. Next, number 9, collaborative filtering. Now, this is a technique used to make recommendations based on the preferences of similar users. It works by creating a matrix of user-item interactions where each cell in the matrix represents the user's preference or rating for a particular item. Collaborative filtering algorithms then use this matrix to find patterns or similarities in the ratings of different users and items. There are two main types of collaborative filtering: user-based and item-based. In user-based collaborative filtering, the algorithm identifies users who have similar preferences and recommends items that these users have rated highly. In item-based collaborative filtering, the algorithm identifies items that are similar to the ones user has already rated highly and recommends these similar items. This technique is commonly used in recommendation systems for movies, music, and books. For instance, a streaming service can use collaborative filtering to recommend movies to a user based on their viewing history and the preferences of the users with similar viewing histories. Next, number 10, dimensionality reduction. Now, dimensionality reduction is a data mining technique used to reduce the number of features or variables in a data set while retaining as much information as possible. It is an important technique for dealing with high-dimensional datasets which can be computationally expensive and difficult to visualize and interpret. Further, dimensionality reduction works by transforming the original data into a lower dimensional space while preserving as much original information as possible. This can be done in two ways: feature selection and feature extraction. Feature selection involves selecting a subset of the original features that are most relevant to the problem at hand. This can be done using statistical tests or other feature ranking methods. Feature selection is a simple and effective way to reduce dimensionality of a dataset, but it may not capture all of the important relationships between features. Next, feature extraction involves transforming the original features into a new set of features that capture the most important information in the dataset. This can be done using techniques such as principal component analysis or PCA or single value decomposition or SVD. These techniques identify the most important directions or axes in the data and project the data onto these new axes. With that, I hope this video was helpful to you and served value. If you like my content, feel free to smash that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, as it keeps me motivated and helps me create more content like this for you.